An action-packed weekend of Kentucky sports saw some ups, some downs, and one very unfortunate loss that likely brought most of us back down to earth. I guess we are a basketball school after all. Let's start it off on a high note. BBN saw the men's basketball team in action against a competitive opponent for the first time since their last year in the preseason. Their scrimmage against Owensboro Division II powerhouse Kentucky Wesleyan. Keon Brooks started his junior season off strong, scoring 8 of Kentucky's first 10 points himself, knocking down 2 threes, and jumping into the passing lane for this emphatic steal and slam. Five-star freshman Ty Washington, likely the best NBA prospect on this year's team, paced the Cats in scoring with 18 points while making 7 of 9 from the field. But where he really impressed was in his leadership, communicating with teammates and staying vocal throughout the game. The 19-year-old demonstrated a maturity level far beyond his years. Though Kentucky essentially coasted to a win, one glaring flaw stood out in the game that was scheduled against knowingly subpar competition, that being the interior defense. Stop me if you've heard this name before, Jamel Boyd. Yeah, me neither. Yet the junior college transfer gashed Kentucky for 29 points on only 2 made threes. And Boyd should be proud of that accomplishment. By no means is this intended to downplay his talent, but I implore you to imagine what kind of damage Duke's 6'11", 250-pound Paolo Banchero could inflict around the rim. Good teams win, but great teams, like the 2015 38-1 squad, suffocate their opponents on the defensive end. This will be something to watch in the Cats' final scrimmage against Miles College on Friday. With some experts projecting Kentucky to miraculously crack the college football playoff's 4th spot in January, Saturday's loss became that much harder to swallow. Although an 11-win season would have sent Lexington into a frenzy, we shouldn't use this loss as a reason to disparage the football program. Winning 6 games in a row is very difficult, and they still have a chance to secure a New Year's Bowl game. These are heights previously thought impossible before the Stoops regime took over, so chin up, BBN. We're on to Tennessee. And that's your weekend in sports. Deja, Alexa, back to you. On Saturday, the UK Wildcats faced off against Tennessee at Kroger Field. Will Levis must have had a little extra mayo in his coffee Saturday morning because he proved to be a driving force for the Cats, finishing with 372 yards through the air and scoring 3 touchdowns. While the offense was great, UK fell apart on defense. Tennessee scored on their first play of the game just 11 seconds in with a 75-yard bubble screen, which set up the narrative of this game. Kentucky's almost non-existent defense. The Cats caught up by the end of the half, but Tennessee ultimately came out on top with a 45-42 win, solidifying Kentucky's midseason collapse, dropping 3 in a row after winning 6 straight. You can watch the Cats next week on the road against Vanderbilt on SEC Network. As the semester begins to wind down, you can start looking for spring clubs to join. Thomas Thoburn looks at how club sports have impacted students.
While collegiate and professional sports are beloved by all, club sports are where some people really make their home in college. UK senior Graydon Knapp is the president of UK's club tennis team and has worked hard the past 2 years to make the club more inclusive for all skill levels.
I opened up kind of an open forum to where people could give us feedback and say what they liked about practice or things that they want to change or things that they would change if they were in my position. And then we got a lot of feedback about how there just wasn't enough match play. So one thing that we implemented is conditioning, so people would do sprints or just make the competitive practice for people who want to get better more than just have fun.
Mr. Knapp made other changes to practice. By including exercises such as sprints and lunges for the first hour of competitive practice, he noticed that more casual tennis players started to show up and got more invested in their improvement as a tennis player.
So we also have a second practice called our casual practice, and that's where we kind of have people, just play for fun. But the competitive practice, we wanted to kind of gear it more towards people trying to get better.
As Mr. Knapp moves on from college, he hopes that future players will focus on the experience that it can give them, more than the results. You can find more information on UK's club sports on BP Involved. Thomas Thoburn, UK Student News Network.
All right, for all of you basketball fans out there, myself included, it feels like Christmas Eve. The Cats get back into regular season action tomorrow night for the first time since that disappointing loss in the SEC tournament earlier this year. Coming into the Champions Classic tomorrow, Kentucky sits at number 10 in the AP poll, while Duke, their first opponent, is ranked 9th. While the Blue Devils certainly have the best NBA prospect in all of college basketball in Paolo Banchero, this year's Kentucky squad is looking a bit different than usual. Coach Cal, ever the innovator as we know, has weaponized the transfer portal as his newest rendition of the one-and-done model. For Kentucky, this means one massive change in the culture: experience. Transfers Kellen Grady, Xavier Wheeler, and Oscar Shibwe bring a veteran presence to the rotation, which has been sorely missed in the past few seasons. Sports fans, for yet another week of bluegrass action with yours truly. First up, the Governor's Cup returns to its old Kentucky home. Kentucky football got back in early season form to wrap up the 2021 regular season against Louisville on Saturday. It was a dominant performance from Kentucky start to finish. After both teams traded scores on their initial drives, Kentucky's run game absolutely dominated Louisville between the tackles. Headlined by quarterback Will Levis's newfound strength as a runner, where the veteran signal caller posted 114 yards, 4 touchdowns on 14 attempts in a 52-21 victory. And with Kentucky taking care of business to close out the regular season, Mark Stoops' squad will turn its focus to a postseason bowl game. College football analysts are divided on which game the Cats could find themselves in, but the general consensus is one of either the VRBO Citrus Bowl in Orlando or the Outback Bowl in Tampa Bay. If the Cats were to travel to Orlando for the second time in 4 years, they would likely take on college football standout Michigan State for a chance to cement themselves as one of the best teams of the best 25 teams of the season. A more likely scenario, though, could be against Mark Stoops' alma mater, Iowa, in the Outback Bowl in Tampa Bay, a surprisingly competitive Wisconsin team as well. Both the Outback and Citrus Bowls take place in the early afternoon on New Year's Day. And although it was such a fun and exciting weekend of Kentucky sports, the heartbreak inevitably came last night, Sunday evening, when the number 9 ranked men's soccer team unfortunately fell on the road against number 8 Clemson in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA men's soccer tournament. It was a 2-1 defeat. Despite the loss, Kentucky competed hard until the very end and found themselves just one goal short of a trip to the Elite Eight. This trip to the Sweet 16 also marks the program's third in the last 4 seasons, a testament to the program that Coach Johan Syndergren has built here after 10 years in Lexington. And last but certainly not least, we have reached the conclusion of the Kentucky high school football season with the 1A through 3A state championships taking place this Friday, December 3rd, right up the street at Kroger Field, while the 4A through 6A championships will be played the following Saturday, the very next day, also in Kroger Field. A couple of Lexington schools from here in the city will be competing for their own district championships, with Lexington Christian playing Beechwood for the 2A title on Friday, while Frederick Douglass takes on South Warren for the 5A title on Saturday. All right, we're back for yet another exciting week of Kentucky sports action. We've got basketball and football season in full swing, and for the first time in quite a while, both squads are looking pretty formidable. Let's start with that blowout win against Vanderbilt on Saturday night. After finding themselves dropping 3 games in a row, following the first 6-0 start in over 71 years, wow, fans began questioning whether that hot streak at the beginning of the season, with wins against rivals Florida and LSU, was simply an aberration. Thankfully, Mark Stoops' Wildcats proved that, at the very least, they're still capable of pitching a dominant performance against what is admittedly the weakest team in the SEC in Vanderbilt. The Vandy program is in such a state that, despite the game taking place in their stadium, it was essentially a home contest for Kentucky. Nonetheless, there's a feel-good win for the Cats as they approach a home date with a New Mexico State team which just lost by 50 points to Alabama last week. Moving on to the hardwood, Kentucky bounced back in dominant fashion following a disappointing loss to Duke in the Champions Classic last Tuesday. To start a slate of non-conference tune-up games following the clash in Madison Square Garden, the Cats hosted Robert Morris University, the same team, if you remember, that eliminated Kentucky in the first round of the NIT tournament in 2013. And it's safe to say that this iteration of John Calipari's Wildcats evened the score, winning 100-40 and showing that they were unfazed after a tough loss to start the season. Speaking of being unfazed, it's been an up-and-down start for the season this season for Kentucky's 5-star freshman guard Ty Washington. After looking like a fifth-year transfer in the exhibition games earlier this season, Washington caught a case of the yips against Duke in the Champions Classic. And while he certainly rebounded from that performance with a solid outing against Robert Morris, the team was undoubtedly led by transfers Xavier Wheeler, Oscar Tshiebwe, and Kellen Grady. Could it be that Ty is feeling the pressure of playing point guard under the brightest lights in college basketball? I spoke with a couple former players and one fan favorite point guard for their take on what it's like to play in Lexington.
The media takes stories and runs with it. They spin things. You know, they overanalyze every tweet and every Instagram post and every interaction and every interview and every play. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of, you know, your way of tuning that out and focusing on your game.
Well, personally, like, you know, honestly, they never flipped on me. For
They
the most
didn't.
part,
They did. We had a loyal. Right.
For the most part, you know, everyone loved me. I got the good side of it, but you know, you gotta turn off Twitter. You know, Twitter is the biggest thing, especially back then. You know, a lot of us turned off Twitter, didn't look. You know, you like to go after games and type your name in and see what people are saying until like the bad game comes. You know, it's a lot different. So, you know, just stay off Twitter, stay off the internet. You know, it's easy to tune out.
All right, thank you to Todd Lanner and Tyler Eulis for helping us here at the UKSNN. That's your Weekend Sports. Deja, Alexa, back to you.